And now to continue the big couch and just keep things going, we'd like to welcome Paige Peterson, who used to be with MaidSafe, but now is with Zcash. Everybody welcome Paige.
Thank you, studio audience.
Audience is doing good. We're going to get a band in here tomorrow. Just give us a couple of days. And remember, Paige, keep that mic really close to your mouth. The audience, they really want to hear you. They won't stop in the chat.
Right.
We also want to thank Justin for giving us $2 twice. It worked both times, but I think they tricked you the second time. So you got to watch out. That chat's a little wily. You got to watch out for them. So how's it going, Paige?
Great. I gave my talk already, so now I can chill out.
Oh, that's what's great about getting the first talk at the conference.
Yeah.
You're out of the way now.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is set.
Yeah.
So what was your talk about? Because I missed it.
I spoke about, well, first of all, I spoke about the general concept of internet money and what that means, and then I introduced Zcash as, kind of filling those needs that Bitcoin probably potentially hasn't been able to do so.
Well, just give us some time. Bitcoin will fulfill all of your needs.
What are the
You have to go.
Yeah. What are some of the needs that Zcash fills?
So, namely, privacy and fungibility. Right now, if someone wanted to say, oh, well, I'm not going to accept your Bitcoin because it's been spent at this location or used by this individual, then they can do that.
And certainly people talked about that with the Dread Pirate Roberts coins. Maybe the Silk Road coins would be somehow tainted and worth less than others.
Yep.
I've also heard that original Bitcoins from a block are worth more valuable than used Bitcoins.
Yep. So that general concept that one unit is equal to any other unit in the system, and that is very directly tied to privacy. So by not being able to trace the history of a cryptocurrency token, then you also provide an individual or any people that are using the cryptocurrency with basic fundamental human rights, which is privacy. So there's I ended my talk with a nice troll meme that one of the scientists at Zcash created. It says, Bitcoin, it's like Twitter for your debit card. So.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Twitter for your debit card. Let's ponder that for a moment.
So I can use 240 characters now instead of 180. It's going to be much bigger now.
There you go, yeah. Now you can. Well, yeah.
Can you give us a rundown of zero knowledge proofs for dummies, or some kind of real? Because it's always a topic that comes up with Zcash. There's other time, or people even talk about it in Bitcoin. Zero knowledge proof, zero knowledge, this that. Can you just give us like a quick breakdown?
If it's possible.
Yeah. So not. A lot of people call it moon math because there is a lot of the cryptography behind it is pretty complex. But essentially what it allows for is to encrypt the transaction data that gets stored on the blockchain while still maintaining the verifiability of that data. So you can prove that you haven't spent coins in the past. You can prove that you actually are the owner of those coins, all without revealing the specifics of that data to anyone except parties that you choose to. So I don't know how deep to go into it, but essentially uses these concepts of when you receive a Zcash token that's in a shielded address, then a commitment is created that's kind of used later on for when it's spent. So there's a nullifier that's created when a Zcash shielded token is spent. So the nullifier links to the commitment. So you essentially the nodes in the network know that it hasn't been spent again.
Okay, sorry, studio audience was distracting me a little bit.
All right, so what kind of things would people use Zcash for, Paige?
Zcash is internet money, so you can use it for anything. Essentially, anything that you can use Bitcoin for, you can use Zcash for. Plus, anything that you are nervous to use Bitcoin for because you could potentially have your identity linked to an address, you can use Zcash for.
The audience won't stop saying it. They're saying it over and over again. Could we use Zcash to buy sex?
I mean, it's
We
a
would
free
have to
world, I
nego-
guess.
we-
In places where that's legal, yeah, sure.
Certainly in Amsterdam, perhaps, or maybe in Essen.
Yeah.
If you had a
If that's your
pre-negotiation with the girl, she was willing to set up the wallet, or maybe the boy, depending on who you are at home.
We don't need to. We don't have to read everything that the chat audience says.
Well, Ken sent us $2 and he demanded it, so
okay.
I think that was
Sorry.
it was a super
Excuse me.
chat type question.
My bus. Sorry.
So we had to go there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What is his name?
Ken?
Ken, you're just going to have to do a test for us and let us know if it was a successful transfer.
Obvious, send us the video. Blur out parts maybe.
Okay, so we know, so Zcash is anonymous, and it uses zero knowledge proofs. And that's, okay. Anything else? Well, I know it has like a real low mining reward or something like that. What's up with the supply? It's very deflationary, or it's deflationary like most other cryptocurrencies, or how does that play into it?
So the Zcash distribution mirrors Bitcoin's distribution, except Zcash was launched 7 years after Bitcoin. So there is a two and a half minute block time, but the initial first 4-year period before the first halving is 12.5 Zcash distributed. So that mirrors Bitcoin's original 10-minute, and it still maintains 10-minute block time with a 50 Bitcoin distribution in 10 minutes. So
All right.
it's the same ratio.
What about the founder's reward? How does that work out?
So for the first 4 years, 2.5 Zcash go to this founder's reward fund, where the rest of the 10 go to the actual miners, and that's the first 4 years. And then once that period's up, then there's no more founder's reward. The goal of the founder's reward is to enable the company and the foundation to maintain a steady income and ability to keep working on the protocol without worrying about VCs or doing the ICO thing. Like, we're super glad we didn't do an ICO at this point.
It is starting to get hairy out there for the ICOs. And the founder's reward is similar to what they do at Dash, right? Dash has a certain amount of their money set aside for projects such as marketing or videos.
But they did a pre-mine, right?
I think they did, yeah.
Yeah, so ours is so we don't have all of the money all at once. We get,
So you have to keep working on the project, whereas Dash could maybe just go on vacation now.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, I don't know how Dash distributes that fund that they have.
I think it's very complicated. They have a voting system.
Okay.
I'm not even sure who votes, but I know that like YouTube shows or other people, like Max Kaiser applied for a Dash grant to go on tour. And I'm not sure why, because I think Max Kaiser should have plenty of Bitcoin. So I could assume he could use that to go on tour. But for whatever reason, he and Stephen Baldwin, the actor, are on tour with Dash. So go figure. I don't know. It's a crazy world.
Yeah.
A Biodome fan in the audience. Pauly Shore is very happy now.
So I don't know if Dash has this difference between a company and a foundation, but Zcash has the for-profit company that, a for-profit company is really, really good for like bootstrapping a project, and that's kind of the mentality of having both for-profit and then also a foundation that the Founders Award will support. So, we also, so there is a Zcash Foundation. It's not really affiliated with the company. Like, we talk and like strategize a little bit between each other just because we want to support each other. But the idea is to, in the end, have a lot of the development of the core infrastructure maintained by the foundation, so it's not, there isn't any like special interest, like complexities with a for-profit company. And then also the idea with the foundation is to avoid doing any to avoid screwing up in every single way that the Bitcoin Foundation ended up doing. So
what a great foundation it was. They sponsored every conference. They bought everything they could buy until there was no more money.
And they went to every conference.
They sure did.
And there's actually a really big announcement about the foundation coming up soon. I wish I could tell. I wish it was out already.
Teasers.
Keep an eye out on the Zcash Foundation because it's gonna be good.
Now,
first of its kind.
Is that when there was a price hike to 400 a few days ago?
Oh.
Yeah.
Or something?
Oh, that was, yeah, I don't know what's up with that. People were definitely anticipating Zcash getting listed on Bitfum, which is the largest cryptocurrency exchange by volume.
Okay.
I think there was a little bit of potentially an internal leak, but I also saw people sharing I think the Bitthumb exchange accidentally put a Zcash logo somewhere on their website or something that people found, and then they took it off.
Yeah.
That's so unfortunate. You can't even preload your websites now. You have to do everything live in real time. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
I hate
so
that.
there was a big I don't really understand what happened, but it went up to 400 for a minute, and then went back
I'm
down.
rich, and then I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Oh well.
We'd like to thank Ken in the chat for sending us 420, and Bitcoin Informant for sending us €2. Thank you so much for your support. And what about Zuko, the founder of Zcash? I hear he's some kind of space alien, and he's really good at math. Is that true?
Zuko is a cypherpunk from back in the day. He is a cryptographer. Now he is assuming the CEO role, so less of the math stuff and more of the biz dev and CEO things. But he's actually a really great CEO, and I love working with him.
Does he wear a suit?
He does wear suits.
Ooh, that's how you know he's the CEO, because he wears suits. Theo right here is on his way to CEO,
right? Yeah.
Suit but no tie, so he's halfway there.
There you go. That's because I gotta get my tie at nindy.co.uk. I heard they have red ties. That's one of our studio audience members. I'm just kind of joking with him. But okay, well, I don't have any. There was someone in chat that said something. What about the master keys that might have not been destroyed? But I don't know the exact.
And remember, just to remind the audience, when they created Zcash, they created a bunch of keys and then destroyed them. Yeah. Peter Todd was involved. There was a laptop. There was a CD burner. Maybe the firmware of the CD burner is bad.
Was there a sledgehammer involved?
There was some sledgehammers, a fire. It was a whole ritual, right, Paige? What can you tell us about?
Yeah, we call it the ceremony.
The ceremony. That's not creepy at all.
This is referring to what people call as the trusted setup. So for the implementation of ZK snarks in Zcash, it requires this public, basically like a public key, but in order to create a public key, you need this private key. And this private key we refer to as the toxic waste, in that if any one person were to be able to control the private key, they would be able to print counterfeit as much Zcash as they wanted. It would not affect the privacy of Zcash at all, but they would be able to, inflate the currency. So in order to avoid that problem, there was a multi-party computation ceremony to generate these parameters, and it was actually a very interesting situation. The podcast Radio Lab actually did a show about it, so I highly recommend y'all check that out because it's really fun to listen to. But essentially, we split up this key generation into 6 parties, such that each party was creating a shard of the public and private key.
Much like Voldemort and his Horcruxes, right? You have to spread them around so that evil evil stays in the world, or
pretty
maybe
much.
doesn't stay. Yeah.
So, but it's set up in such a way that if only a single person in that ceremony did what they were supposed to do and destroy the private key, their shard of the private key, then it's safe.
So only one person.
Only one person had to do. You didn't need everyone to be,
Okay, so how many people would have to collude for that not to happen?
There were 6 participants, and all 6 participants would have had to collude and or compromise.
Okay.
And
I know Peter Todd. He destroyed his laptop with a sledgehammer, and I also know he would never compromise.
And there was additionally 2 weeks ago we released an audit of the ceremony. So one of the participants was actually a security firm that did an audit of their entire setup. So they had each participant, each station had a network node and a compute node, and the compute node was the computer that was generating this private key that had their shard of the private key. So that was like the sensitive part. It was air gapped with the network node, which was used to communicate the shards of the public key. It was air gapped with a DVD. So the compute node had no networking, it was very bare minimum, bare bones hardware and bare minimum, bare bones software just to generate this key. And additionally, all of those DVDs essentially keep a record of what was transmitted between the nodes. So people can analyze them, which happens, and can see that, none of the private key shards were transmitted.
Well, that sounds great, because I always keep my sensitive parts air-gapped. We also have a great super chat from Russell, who sent us $20. Thank you, Russell. And Russell says, Bitcoin is evolving with airdrop forks. Bitcoin can remain a store of value and anchor for all versions of Bitcoin, functioning together to build a much larger adaptive economy. Altcoins can be replaced with airdrop forks. What do you think about that, Paige? Do you think the Bcash and the B2X is going to lead to a series of new altcoins that are just copies of Bitcoin?
Maybe. I don't know.
But it's unlikely to replace Zcash, because Zcash was created with a ceremony. It's not just a copy of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, Zcash is a fork of Bitcoin, but with all of the zero knowledge proof stuff added.
But you didn't give me all the coins? I didn't get free Zcash?
No, it's a fork of the code. It's not a fork of the
chain.
The chain, exactly. There's a difference between that, which is important to understand.
Unfortunately, I could have really scored there with the free Zcash.
Yeah, sorry about that. No.
Next time.
Yeah, you need to just start a sharding ritual audit company and audit that, and then there you go. You don't have to worry about any more
I could be the one that gets to smash.
Private pre-sale, send me a private message right now. I think I think these airdrop things are a new trend, and we'll see more of them, but I don't think they'll replace altcoins. People like choice, and that's why it doesn't matter if people like choice for speculation or privacy or ideology. They like to have different colors of jelly beans, and that's kind of like pretty much what it boils down to.
And also, to create these Bitcoin forks, you actually have to mine SHA-256. You can't just use a graphics card. You usually have to have an ASIC. Well, they're going to be on they're going to be on GPU, so that will be different.
Oh yeah, isn't BitGold using Equihash?
Yeah, I believe
apparently,
so.
Which is what Zcash uses.
Okay, dun dun dun.
I don't know. Good for them. I'm all about bridge building. I'm really sick of this community being all like, my idea. Why don't we just recognize that it's a market and things happen and people have different preferences and whatever. Shout out to Monero in that vein. Yeah.